Vimoh, by Dr. Deepti Priya. A book review by Gaurav Mazumdar. Gaurav is working as a program manager in one of the leading ERP company based out of Bangalore. We human beings are transient, and with each passing day, while the proximity to technology is decreasing, the dependency is incessantly increasing. A substantial number of this tech-savvy generation has an inclination for visual art form over literary work. I am no different, and belong to one such clan, and with the recent circumstances heaving on us, the internet and the OTT has become way too overwhelming and obscure to help me find the much-needed impetus to remain sane and sorted. Moreover, when these unfathomable times makes us so vulnerable to a malleable society, it is crucial that we follow the path of virtue and righteousness. I would forever be grateful and thankful to the person who had recommended Vimoh by Dr. Deepti Priya ji. The poems in this book are so resplendent that it brings us closer to our conscience. Curiosity, honesty, and integrity. When we talk about Indian literature, how can we not talk about Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, which features as the most quoted in the entire Indian literature, because none is better loved than this greatest verse. Comprehension of such an unparalleled work demands not only deeper knowledge of Sanskrit but also an empathy with the theme and verbal artistry. It still remains to be the main literary support for the great religious civilization of India, the oldest surviving culture in the world. And for a poem which is a symphony of God, residing in every other thing around us, the different representations and perceptions of this greatest verse are just another manifestation of the long-living importance of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. The poetess, Dr. Deepti Priya ji, in her book Vimoh, has put in her sincere effort, and efficaciously presented some of the circumstances, characters, and analogies associated with the epic Mahabharata. Her compositions unarguably elevate different emotions inside us, like that of enthusiasm, compassion, valor, love, harmony, devotion, and impetuosity, which otherwise would have remained concealed deep within our insecurities and timidity. While we live in a dubious and turbulent world, often we seek guidance that could bring us solace amidst the chaos. Finally, this book Vimoh has come to our rescue from an uncharted territory. A world where the majority is indulged in conceit and derisory, it is essential to take a step back, slow down, and take time for ourselves to fathom our deeds, conduct, behavior, and beliefs. Vimoh incites us to retrospect and be decisive in our deliberation, actions, and propagate it beyond. The depth and purity with which the poetess has incepted Vimoh only reflects the positivity and density of her exalted thought process which the world craves for at this crossroads. If we embrace these emotions within us, it will help yield positive vibes that in turn will resonate and help the society to evolve and accomplish highest social cognition. One of the most invasive problems, which will eventually engulf our loved ones any day if not today, is the violence against women, children, and elders. This situation reminds me to allude to poems from Vimoh, Kuch Bol, and Band Karo Chirharan. In these poems, Dr. Deepti Priya ji immaculately describes the trauma and pain women in our society goes through. Further, she also questions the role of each and every individual in this society, who could have stood firm to stop these for once and for all. On the contrary, we choose to remain dithery and sloppy. Existential crisis is also on the spread, the reason for which could be anything but circumstance. It is important to address this issue radically, but for most of the human population, failing to learn the art of detachment, the world problems will only get bigger. Despite having awareness, even if it is at meager level, we choose to remain bigot, vainglorious, and indifferent. Today we are exposed to different compositions from different authors which scintillate ostensible emotions, and often they fail to promote the positivity within us. This book, Vimoh, is a rare work in present-day Hindi literature, which uses elegant, coherent, and conscientious language to elate optimism, spirituality, and a sense of devotion, all at once. A quote from Arjun Vishad Yog, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 1, Verse 28. In this verse, Arjun realized that all the warriors on the battlefield, ready to shed blood, were none other than his own relatives, friends, and family. He was filled with remorse, and fearful of performing his duty of fighting this war. The cause for these sentiments was his attachment towards his bodily relatives. He became forgetful of his spiritual existence, that he was not just the body. His affection for his bodily relatives had blinded his consciousness. This dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna of the Shrimad Bhagavad Gita is proficiently elocuted in the poem Sambandha Vimoh, where Dr. Deepti Priya has accentuated the importance of existentialism, pursuit of truth, and detachment with the materialistic world. In another poem, Adhipatya Vimoh, the poetess has presented a compelling dialogue between her subconscious and the Supreme Lord. The discussion is on the descendants of Kuru, in the context of Mahabharata, and thoughts as to whom does the throne belong to, and whom it doesn't. The poem beautifully accentuates the importance of righteousness. The review of this book would be incomplete without the mention of another poem, Prakshalan. It carefully describes the process of ablution, in the form of a fictional conversation between Draupadi and Krishna, and it revolves around how to stimulate, restrain, and stabilize our Pancha Mahabhutas. Dr. Deepti Priya has done an exclusive work with her poems, and the experience that we gain by reading them is as good as the epic. My words fall short to applaud Dr. Deepti Priya's indefatigable urge for a resurrection in a worsened society. Her work, in the world of literature, to bring in reform will certainly help humankind rise above the ordinary. Vimoh is for everyone, good, vain, and the influential. Small and large, teen or oldster, if one has the urge to live a life of fulfillment and content. A life full of purpose and upliftment. They should read Vimoh to fulfill their unquenchable thirst.